Welcome to RetroWolf Podcast episode number 15, and I am very, very excited to be joined by Justin Silverman, who is a producer over at Cinemassacre and Screenwave Media. How you doing tonight, Justin?
Pretty good. Lucky number 15. Glad to be here.
Yes, sir. Lucky number 15 indeed. And thank you so much for joining the podcast. And by the way, love the Starship Troopers shirt and the poster in the
Oh,
background.
yeah, that actually it hung at the Cannes Film Festival. My one friend Nude, he's like a theater guy. He got it for me. It hung at the bus station because they wouldn't let him put it in the building. So it was like the bus, like they put behind the glass there. So I've had that for 10 years or something. Finally decided to put it up in my office.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome. That's a classic movie, man. I remember watching that movie whenever I was, well, shit, I don't even remember how old I was, but I remember watching it with my brother. And, dude, we just fell in love with that movie. Not so much the sequels,
No.
but the original was very entertaining.
I
Didn't
mean
it?
that movie came out when I was 13, so you got to think like the action, the over the top stuff, the co-ed shower scene. Like that movie
Yes.
had a lot going on for it. Paul Verhoeven from Total Recall, RoboCop, like Starship Troopers is in my top 10. But my top 10 isn't just like really really good movies. It's also really it's just top 10 entertaining. You know.
Yeah. Same with me, man. At the end of the day, for me, and I know we're going off topic, but at the end of the day, for me, as long as a movie entertains me, I'm gonna leave happy. You know what I mean? That's my main goal when I watch a movie, to be entertained. Now, there's some movies that I want to make me feel something emotionally, but most of the time, I go into a movie just wanting to be entertained, and Starship Trooper definitely does that. Remind me, because it's been over a decade since I've seen it. Doesn't it have Gary Busey's son in it? Or am I remembering
Yeah,
that?
I believe his name is Ace in the movie. Jake Busey's in it.
That's right.
Well, I've interviewed him before. When I used to do shows, I've been doing YouTube we'll talk about that, but I've been doing YouTube for a decade now. And early on, like 2011, we were interviewing Jake Busey at a Comic-Con or Wizard World or something like that. And the whole conversation ended up like, oh, we love Starship Troopers so much. And ended with him being like, all right, well, if you pay me $500, I'll go to the bar with you guys and hang out. And we're like, yeah, we don't have that kind of money, dude. We're like, they let us in here for free because we're press. Like, well, I guess we'll talk to you later.
That's kind of funny, man. And what's also funny is that he inherited his dad's teeth.
Yeah.
Oh man, that trips me out. So, Justin, if you don't mind, for the people in my audience that may not be familiar, if you could just tell them a little bit about yourself and also tell them, what Screenwave Media is, and for those rare people out there that don't know what Cinemassacre is, which I would hope that my audience knows who Cinemassacre is, but just in case, take it away.
Yeah, sure. So I guess I don't know. I guess at the end of the day, I'm a video producer guy here at Screenwave Media, which is a YouTube network, a multi-channel network. It's probably one of the less independent ones left outside of Philadelphia. We have like 900-ish creators, mostly gaming animators. We help them out, much like talent managers, I guess. We do a lot of marketing. We started developing and publishing our own video games too, like the AVGN game that's coming out at the end of this month, among other titles that we already have out. That are usually things that our creators, help make, and we just push it along or finance or whatever. So we do a lot of that. We're heavy into video production. Of course, the weight of that goes into Cinemassacre, which I guess I'm the producer of, outside of James and Mike and whatever. I do most of the scheduling, making sure scripts are ready, making sure videos get done, making sure the upload schedule sticks to. Like the schedule's been pretty stable the last 3 or 4 years after the movie came out. So do a lot of that. And that's it. I've just been doing video stuff pretty much my whole life, I guess. Not like, as much as James, I did a lot of movies in high school stuff. All the stuff's on my personal YouTube channel. You could probably find it like Justin Silverman or something like that. And then I guess after I went to school for film, Rutgers, got out of that, worked at NFL Films for years as a assistant editor and then a video editor. And then when that fell apart with the financial crisis, like 2008, I just been doing YouTube since, and odd jobs here and there. But for 5 years, I've been at Screenwave Media, like as of last month. So that's what I've been doing. And I've been working on Cinemassacre 3-4 years now.
Very cool, man. Very cool. And hearing all that is very inspiring for me because this is exactly the kind of thing that I'm getting into. You know, I'm getting
Hmm.
into filmmaking, video production, videography. I'm going to try to start my own small local production company next year. And you know, I started YouTube. I'm very, very new and fresh to YouTube, right? I started in January 2019. Dude, if you were to go back and watch my first few videos, ooh, they were rough. They were rough. But you know what? Pretty much everybody that starts YouTube, you know, your first few videos are not going to be very good unless you're just a prodigy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But my goal was, and I'm sure this is a similar process that you and some of the other guys that you work with follow, is, you know, my whole mindset was, okay, I might start out bad, but if I can make small improvements with each video, even if they're tiny improvements, those improvements are going to add up over time so that my content gets better and better and better slowly over time.
It's interesting. I used to say like people get into YouTube, they either have a big personality and their quality sucks, but you know it's like kind of growing. Their personality gets better, they get more tuned on, but they already have they know how to talk to a camera, they know how to write scripts and all that stuff. They know what depending if you're a vlogger or whatever. And then the quality of their gear rises with when they start making money off their channel. And then there's people, which is kind of the more the camp I fell into, where gear, you're like a film person or whatever, but then you got to figure out what to do and how to talk to camera and how to gain that personality. Like our first show, Underbelly, which was on Screw Attack back in the day, 2010, that was the first ever YouTube show that was full HD. It
Oh
was the
wow.
first time anyone did 1080 16:9 across the grid. So we're pretty proud about that. But with that came a lot of caveats where we didn't know how to render things properly. YouTube wasn't very specific about that kind of stuff, but we knew tech. So the goal was how to make a show. So of course, like everyone else, we started doing stuff like AVGN back then. And then we mix with like a Penn and Teller's bullshit white screen kind of operation, and kind of went along from there. But like recently I watched your video, like your behind the scenes video. I watched that about how you made the GameCube first person shooter part 2 episode, and you pretty much nailed it. And how we do AVGN, like we talk when we do this part, we do this on this part, we make sure the script does that, we highlight this, we actually highlight our on-screen parts yellow as well. It's like green for green screen, yellow for that kind of stuff. So there's that kind of a thing. So, you nailed a lot of that stuff, and knowing the gear is definitely half the battle. So I'm glad you're kind of doing both at like the same time. I'm not sure where I was going with any of that, but it's people take multiple paths to get to where they need to, but in the end, you have to be able to know, how, unlike a regular TV celebrity or otherwise, which we've seen has been a disaster because with, coronavirus and everything, you see these people are trying to do Zoom calls and gear, and they have no idea how to do it by themselves. You just see these train wreck streams and YouTube channels, and like especially the celebrities on YouTube from Brie Larson on down. They just don't know how to do it. But more tech, and I know more tech than like all these people combined, because usually we're working behind the scenes kind of thing. So it's cool that people like us can get in the forefront of it the last 10 years. That's what I'm kind of proud of in all this whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. And yeah, it's, for me, when I first started out, I knew nothing about some of the tech that I've been working with, right? And I knew nothing about producing a video or editing a video or how to light a video or how to do audio. None of it. You know what I mean? What's the saying I'm looking for? I went in, what's the saying I'm looking for? Went in head
You just like
first.
dove right into it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dove right into it, and tried to learn these things over time through experience and making mistakes and everything. But if I'm being honest, it wasn't until I got to be on the set of the Game Chasers movie for 4 days, because I got to be on set for 4 days. I was
Hmm.
on set all day for 4 days. I helped the cast and crew out. I got to be an extra in a few scenes. That experience of being on a movie set was just a game changer for me. That was the moment where I said to myself, you know what? I could see myself doing stuff like this for the rest of my life and really being passionate about it and really enjoying it. So I left that experience wanting to further improve the channel, and not only improve the channel, but also branch out into other things as well. Hence the podcast, which I'll be honest, dude, I don't know shit about doing a podcast. I'm just kind of going with it, you know what I mean, and trying to learn as I go. My first few podcasts were rough, but I'm slowly trying to improve it. But yeah, it's it's a long process, but it's a fun process. So and that leads me to want to ask you, what is your process when it comes to producing a video from start to finish? Like, what's kind of your process?
I guess it depends, because if you're doing something like when we were doing rental reviews a while ago, doing the movie reviews, if you have something that's more show based, you kind of already know the format and how you're jumping into it. Even AVGN, you go, okay, well, we got to pick the shitty game, figure out if that's the one you want to do, and then you script and write, the normal pre-production, the regular production to post-production. I will say the more time you spend on pre-production, the more happy you'll be in post-production. If the audio is recorded properly and room from the room noise on down, if your scripts are formatted properly, if everything makes sense, if you get the right B-roll, like all that stuff really matters. So it's kind of tough saying how do you go from start to finish, because it really depends on the what kind of video you're doing, or any project in general. Like we do a lot of scripting and for other things too, like games and all this other kind of stuff. So, it kind of depends. I will say that originally I was supposed to be in the Game Chasers movie. I think Grindhead Jim got the part I was originally for, but I couldn't make it out to
Okay.
Texas and do all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure he nailed it in that movie, man. I'm looking forward to that coming out. And I love those guys, the Game Chasers. Good friends with them and Eric and everyone else that was there. So that kind of sucked. And especially Game Dave. He's a peach.
He's a hell of a guy, dude. Hell of a guy.
Yeah. So I'd love to do more stuff with him down the road too. But yeah, like it's great having a community of like-minded people doing the same damn thing. That helps too. But as you said, it definitely helps seeing how other people do it. Like scripts are written in a certain way for a reason. Things are done a certain way for a reason, because it's the best pipeline to success. So seeing how an actual movie works, or even when like James did his, how I do my behind the scenes and stuff like that. That stuff definitely helps. But, thankfully you have YouTube and otherwise, and you can see how a billion people do it. There's so many tutorials, and aside from like master classes and things you can get or whatever, but you can get pretty much, it's kind of like college nowadays. It's like everything's online and you could probably figure it out, and kind of a thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Yeah, there are a lot of resources online for learning this kind of stuff, especially YouTube. There's hundreds and thousands of videos that you can watch to learn lighting, audio, you know what I mean? But there's a big difference between watching videos and reading stuff online and taking that information in, which is great, and people should definitely do that. But all too often I see people that they'll do that. They'll watch tutorials, watch videos, read information, but then they won't actually try to get hands-on experience. And what I've learned, and I'm sure you've learned the same thing, is nothing beats hands-on experience and actually just getting your hands dirty, making mistakes, learning from those mistakes, and continuing to improve in that way. So when you first started, just doing videos, period, did you make a lot of mistakes like a lot of us do, and learn from those mistakes as you went along?
No, it's been perfect from day one.
Yeah, right.
Well, I'll say a couple things. I've never considered myself an artist in any way, or a filmmaker, or any of that kind of stuff. I just make stuff, and I can be on camera and say dumb shit. I don't really care. I've no shame. But I don't know. It's kind of tough. But I guess at first, yeah. I mean, I really didn't consider a lot of early stuff mistakes compared to, I'm learning how to do this, or I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Like, even if you look at my college films or anything like that, they were just, I made everything as good as I could have possibly made it under circumstances, and I felt good about that. Usually down the line, even for Cinemassacre stuff, like sometimes that didn't come out how we wanted to, but I'm happy we did it anyway. Or like a lot of people, well, probably can't recognize me, but I did the Spawn Clown acting in the AVGN Spawn episode, and I was mad the whole time because my chin kept coming off, and there's nothing I can do about it because of how hot the rooms were, and just sweat and time and all that. Like, it was really tough because I was like 5 hours of makeup for like a 20-minute. Like, we just flew through that because we had to. So sometimes you got to make compromises and stuff too, but you can't really kick yourself for that. I know a lot of people who've gotten defeated over YouTube, either the grind of making content or not making the stuff they want to make, or how hard that is without a bunch of other people, especially to a community, and especially to climb up a hill of AdSense and YouTube and algorithms and all that kind of stuff. It's the constant grind is difficult for a YouTuber compared to someone who makes a film where they make a film and they can ride on it for 3 or 4 years while they think and work on the next one. YouTube, it's like, okay, you finished a thing. Well, you better put one out next week. You better put one out next month. You better, Cinemassacre pumps out, even with the second channel, anywhere between 2 and 4 videos a week, and several are pretty high quality, like an AVGN episode. So, it's tough. And, I guess I wouldn't think I've made it even as a YouTuber or producer otherwise. I'm always trying to get to the next stage, I guess.
And that's a good mindset to have. That's a very good mindset to have. And, I don't regret any of my first few videos on YouTube that were not that great. I don't regret any of the mistakes that I've made because those have all helped me get better. Those have all been learning experiences to help me improve. But I'm glad you brought up the grind of YouTube because I've noticed something, man. I've noticed that there's a lot of YouTube channels that will get started, and you'll notice that, like, let's say 6 to 8 months into doing their channel, maybe they're at 200 subs, maybe they're at 300 subs, and then they just stop. Just completely stop. You never see a video from them again. And obviously this wouldn't be true for everybody, but I would say a majority of those people are probably getting discouraged because they're not seeing that sub count go up as high and as fast as they thought it was going to. So that's why I always tell people, when you first start out, definitely don't get discouraged. Because, hell, dude, it took me an entire year, a little bit more than a year, just to hit 1,000 subscribers. It was a grind.
Yeah, it's kind of an exponential thing. Like, once you start going, you start hitting these different levels that YouTube wants to see, and then you go 1,000, 10, 100, and then a million. It starts slowing down. Like, there's a few things like that. I will say that the most important, like, I'll talk about YouTube and then I'll talk about filmmaking. In regards of what's the most important, I think for YouTube, it's definitely consistency. People need to know when to get on the bus. Like, if you're putting out the same video style every Friday, people know that, gonna watch my thing. Oh, the new thing's out. You don't have to call your thing James and Mike Monday or whatever, as long as you are like, for example, rental reviews was every Friday, but we never told anyone that, which probably doesn't help, but people knew that, Friday I'm gonna watch my thing. Like, people get into habits, and YouTube kind of latches on to stuff like that. So it is good to have, and then consistency and length. How you're talking, what your video is about, things like that. Like, I've seen things where on YouTube where someone puts out a random type video and it starts doing really well, and they do another one and that starts doing really well, but they go back to their old style content. And so unfortunately, YouTube makes you kind of follow the pipe to most success until you're someone like James Rolfe or like a John Tron or a Scott DeWaz, where you're more a gaming personality and you could literally put out anything and people will watch it. But of course, you want to hit to your core audience and what you like to do as well. But in terms of filmmaking, I think you can see it with the rise of the VTuber and people just talking over images. Sound is your most important quality. Like, people, you definitely want to have the best audio you can before video. Like, you could be on a webcam. YouTube supports, you have to make a 1080 video, or they don't like when you don't have 1080. 4K bonuses, all that stuff kind of went away. But if you just have your dinky webcam or phone, if it's stabilized and it's good, and you have like a decent enough mic or one that connects to your phone or whatever, people will not tolerate stuff, but they'll tolerate something pixely if you're saying something good. And then the next stage is probably lighting, because most digital cameras, if it's just the same focal length and you're just looking at it and whatever, the lighting, digital cameras eat light. So if you just have better 3-point lighting setup, like I know you do, the camera doesn't matter too much. Like you don't start getting to lenses and any of that stuff till you're like stage 5 or 6. But I would definitely work on audio, lighting, all that. And then just having like a scripts that you can keep getting out and talk about stuff that you want to talk about. That's important. I wouldn't worry about 60 frame and all that stuff. Like there's so many people that don't need to do that kind of stuff. But, having consistency in your production and your release schedule, and I guess your own clarity and mental health and how you do things as long as you keep doing it and it's not struggling with your day-to-day life or anything, like, there's so many people you'll win on YouTube just because so many other people are dropping off. I guess at the end of the day, there's always fresh talent. There's that nice meat grinder churn that can really work in your favor, kind of a thing.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad that you brought up lighting, because that's one thing that I've started to realize in the last few months is that, even if you have a camera that's not a super high dollar, super high quality camera, if your lighting is good, your video is going to look good even on that cheaper camera. And that's something that I've really started to learn lately and try to improve. I've been trying to improve my lighting more and more. And I've been experimenting a little bit in some videos. Like I'll try different lighting setups and different, levels and stuff like that. Because I'm trying to find the ultimate lighting positioning in my room where I have my camera framed that works for me. But another thing that you mentioned, consistency. So I wanted to ask you this because there's something that I think is hurting my channel. And I'm not quite sure what to do about it, because if I try to make an attempt to fix this, I don't think I'm going to enjoy doing YouTube as much. So let me explain. So I am consistent in a couple of different ways. I drop a video for sure every Monday at 5 p.m. and every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time, for sure. Okay, so I'm consistent in that way. Every now and then there might be an extra video that I upload during the week, depending on, what it is. Where I'm not consistent, let me take a step back. I'm also consistent. Most of the time I'm consistent with my length. My videos, I typically try to keep them between 10 minutes and 20 minutes. That's the spot that I like to try to hit. And I'm consistent in how I present the information in my videos. The problem is, and what I think is one thing that I think is really hurting my channel, is that I have so many different types of videos that I put out. I have so many different types of series, and that it's not consistent in when they are released. So for example, I've got my Mama Retro series, I've got my GameCube Gallery series, I've got, my upcoming Switch game. I got so many different types of videos, and they're just kind of scattered all over the place. And I feel like that hurts my channel, because I feel like I've got some people that just come to my channel for the Mama Retro videos, some people that just come to my channel for the GameCube Gallery videos or any GameCube videos. I feel like I got people that only come to my channel for pickups videos. So I feel like my audience is fragmented, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm just looking over your channel and some of the analytics. Let me look at that real quick. So, yeah, I know what you mean. Like a lot of people have, yeah, it makes sense. I think that, well, I guess looking over your channel, and, you can easily tell by just sorting it by, what the most popular is. Clearly your channel likes collection videos. They like a lot of Nintendo stuff. They like, they love room tours. They like that sort of stuff. They like talking about pretty much from that generation of gaming, from like N64 to, GameCube era. Those seem to do the best. I mean, depending on how hard or easy it is, but how many videos can you make on complete GameCube collection over and over and over again? But clearly those are your bread and butter. Even the pickups to a degree. Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, I think your thumbnails could be a little, they're a little cluttered.
I struggle with thumbnails, I'll admit that.
Yeah, graphic design is tough. I mean, even for Cinemassacre, it's like a whole thing. But yeah, you kind of have to figure out where you kind of want the channel to go and what you're happy doing.
Well, people seem to really enjoy the Mama Retro series. I know that series has got a pretty diehard fan base. I don't know if you've watched one of the Mama Retro videos yet.
Yeah, I watched one. I forgot which one I watched, but she was going off.
Yeah, she does that. But yeah, that I feel like could really take off. But the problem is, I can't get her over here all the time to film. When she does, she has arthritis in her hand, so she can't play games for very long.
Right.
So there's some difficulties with that. But yeah, I do think that's definitely two things that I need to improve on is getting some more, maybe tightening up my content a little bit, and also working on my thumbnails for sure. Because that's thumbnails are tough, man. I mean, it's tough. So would you say less is
Yes.
more when it comes to thumbnails?
It depends. I will say that I think thumbnails are half the battle. I think your thumbnail is just important as making the damn video, because if you have a shitty thumbnail and no one watches the video, what was the point of making the video? So theoretically, your thumbnail should be better than the video, or have, at least think about it and go over it for like an hour or two, or whatever. Kind of match what a lot of trends and what kind of people are doing that are getting high click through. Because YouTube's going to show your video to a bunch of people in their sub box in related videos in the browse, and they're searching for stuff, and they might just click on someone else's if it looks nicer. I mean, like in order of SEO importance, it's probably thumbnail, title, description, tags, it's kind of like that, hashtags after that, don't matter too much on YouTube, but the thumbnail is definitely the most engaging and important things I think people are going to see over and over again. So it just depends how quickly they watch, because theoretically you're going to get more of you should have an audience more of non-subscribers than subscribers, if that makes sense, because you need to get new people in and do all that stuff. So I would definitely come up with a format or several formats. So, because then once you have a good format that's working, all you're doing is plop, like the AVGN thumbnails. You put James over here, you put the thing over there, you put the logo here, you're done, So you just keep, it makes them easier to do once you come up with one. But if you're trying to figure it out every time, it might even be important to take pictures specifically for the thumbnail and photoshopping and all that. I'm not sure what programs you use. Like, I think you use the Power Director for editing, but I'm not sure if you're using Photoshop or any of that kind of stuff.
Pixel R online.
Okay. Yeah, we use the full Adobe suite just because I've been trained on that from college, and so I'm glad that won compared to Final Cut. Let me tell you, because I wasn't about to fully learn Final Cut or Editus or what else is there? There's a bunch of editing programs, or even Vegas, but that's not really super professional either compared. But you kind of use the tools that you get. Like, your videos look very good. Like, I didn't know a lot of I think it's Power Director free editor.
No, it's a subscription based monthly.
Okay.
Or no, not monthly. You pay for it yearly.
Okay, yeah, I haven't really used it too much, but I mean, then again, in Premiere, I don't use 90% of the tools it has, so there's that too. But no, I'm glad that's working for you. I mean, editing's kind of a battle too, but I would definitely put more time into what kind of content you want to make. Like, even if you're getting less better produced, more clicked on items, that would be better than just getting a ton of stuff out.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. So what would you say are some good tips for coming up with a video title? Because that's something that I sometimes struggle with too, trying to figure out how exactly to title my video.
Well, there's a few easy ways you could see. I mean, if you're following a trend or like a movie or something like that, clearly you want the game title right up front, because the things on the left of the title are going to be more. The things on the left of the title are going to be more important than things on the right. YouTube scans from left to right, much like English. That's kind of how it works. Same things with tags or otherwise more important, bulky stuff on on the left, my right. So, you put the game title first. You'll do things like that. It kind of depends. you don't want a title that's too long, because anything over 80, 100, 120, 150 characters, I think 200 is the max. YouTube will think you're like spamming the thing, like when people put thousands of tags or whatever. And speaking of tags, like they should be things people actually put into the search bar, like huge GameCube collection. Rather, like you wouldn't just put game. Well, maybe because it's more retro, you could just put GameCube, but you wouldn't want collection to be a tag, because if they search someone searching for just collection on YouTube, that doesn't make sense. You know, you want those to be multi-part words that kind of work. But for a title, I guess depending on what it is, you want it to be very like it needs to definitely agree to what the video is, because you don't want to make something that's clickbaity, because then people will click on it and click off on it, and then you lose that retention, which will make YouTube drive the video into the dirt because they think it's like a fake video or whatever. Same thing with the thumbnail; it can't be misleading, but it has to be a little. You can amp it up, like, or even like, oh, world's largest GameCube collection ? Like things like, even depending on what you're trying to do. Let me go back and look at some of your things. I definitely wouldn't put all caps words in there, because they kind of see that as bad.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Yeah, because they see it, because people were putting like these awful things. Don't put episode 2 or episode 5 or anything like that, because part series don't do well, because clearly people won't watch. Part 1 will always do the best, right? Like even for a channel like Game Grumps, like when you're at part 50, and you look at the playlist, it's going to be doing the worst. Like that's why AVGN took episode titles out of things, because it started.
That makes sense.
YouTube was categorizing it weird. Like I like your games I beat in 2020 thumbnail, very simple. But I think the title is a little too, April through June, part 2. I think you have a little too much going on in the title. Sometimes, you have your name in the title. I'm not sure if that's super necessary unless people were searching for RetroWolf 88. 88 was when you were born, I assume.
Yeah.
Not anything else.
Yeah.
Let's see. But like the recent pickups are fine. Maybe if you just show different things in each thumbnail, or mess with the colors a bit, but you don't need the episode 17s. Like the Mama Retro ones make a lot of sense to me. They're not bad. But some are a little too like GameCube FPS games is all right. I'm not sure if YouTube likes having a gun like that in the thumbnail.
Probably not. Yeah, probably not.
If you look, there's a service. You can look up Google Vision. And Google Vision has an AI thing. And if you scroll down, it says try the API. And you can drag an image in there, and it'll tell you everything you need to know about the image. And it'll give you a basic understanding of, well, oh, this is racy, or this is like Google thinks that this thumbnail's like, this image is like bad, if that makes sense. Like, and if it has so many points, like they'll demonetize or limited ad your videos or things like that. So definitely try using Google Vision, the API, to drag your image to see, because it can read the text. Like it'll know if you're doing it right. Like your 4th of July special video is good. The awesome remake one for SpongeBob is a really good thumbnail. It really pops. I like the recent pickup ones. I think it'd be a little nicer. But yeah, it's Insane Retro Reviews is pretty good. Like they're not bad. It's like kind of like you've gone in waves of doing it, nicer, and that but all the older stuff, like 7 months ago when you're doing Black Label games and too much text and stuff. Yeah. But you're kind of hit or miss. It's just about the consistency,
right?
At that point, but you're almost there with that. But with the going back to titles, I would take out a lot of the things I talked about.
Yep. Okay.
It's just fluff that you don't need.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, and taking out capitals, but it's just kind of keep going at it.
That's good. That's great feedback, man. To be honest, I didn't even think about the whole episode this and episode that thing in the title, because it makes sense, because, even now that I'm thinking about it, I could see some people seeing, okay, episode 5, does this mean I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch all the old episodes and get caught up? You know what I mean? And then
Right.
not wanting to do that.
And I think you could reformat them in a way, like not changing any of the content, but what you show in the thumbnail, what you talk about, like, oh, found this, and that, like, make it more like what is the story of the video? What are you trying to express to the other? Like,
Right.
what is the, like for a movie, like what is the log line? What is the elevator pitch? Like if you can only tell someone something in 5 words or flash one image in front of them, what would you show? It has to be more important than just like, because you got to realize you're so deep into the video already, the planning, everything about the damn stuff. Like it's personal to you otherwise, but you got to like kind of take yourself out and be like, why would someone else want to click on this? What would they feel about it emotionally or otherwise? Everything's an emotional choice, right? Like, why would they want to click on this if they knew nothing about it, or they like GameCube? Like, what could I make it? What could I jazz it up to make it like, oh yeah, this is really cool. I'll just show these, And remember, sometimes YouTube shows your thumbnail this big in like a sidebar. You need to have big, nice. It has to pop. It has to be vibrant enough, but not too cluttered. You got to find that middle ground. Like I think you're almost there here and there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely been a learning process, and that's all great feedback. Would you say that, as far as a thumbnail title, so any text you have in your thumbnail, would you say you want it to be as little words as possible?
Yeah, like for example, there's a Monster Madness Cinemassacre video coming out at the end of the week, and it's about like the best monsters by like species or something. But in the thumbnail, we just have best monsters ? That simple. Like you shouldn't have too much in there. For the AVGN ones, we just have the logo because that's so widely, like people know that logo, so it makes sense. But for a lot of the other videos for Cinemassacre, we don't really put in text too much unless we really need to. Some people use too much of it. And sometimes it should have like the person in there on the side, like, oh, and then like the games next to them or whatever. But those have to be like photoshopped and layered and done correctly to work. Like a Scott DeWaz is pretty good thumbnails for what he does and stuff. Because if it's supposed to be a personality driven channel and you're the face of it and it's not just like a talking head or no, you should kind of do that. Because even though you might get less views, for that video, your goal is not to make viral videos, it's to build an audience that want to watch whatever, these types of videos going forward. So you need to make it very consistent across like what someone click, because if someone clicks on the video, if you have like if you have okay click through but really high retention and more watch time, that's going to help you rather than just like like let's say you got a 1 million view video and 1 million people clicked on it, but the retention's only like 5% or 10% or 20, like that's, you want your retention through a whole video to be around 60%. More is fantastic, but it depends on the content.
Yeah. And that actually kind of segues into my next question for you, that has to do with audience retention because, we live in a world nowadays, you know this as well as I do, where it seems like people's attention spans are getting shorter and shorter, especially younger generations. It seems like their attention spans are getting shorter and shorter. So, what would you say are some good tips for a YouTuber for keeping people's attention during the video so that they don't click off of it? Because to be honest, my watch time is not near as good as my average watch time is not near as good as I would like it to be.
So it's a few things. One, consistent time, that helps. Starting the video right away, not going into like a bunch of other dumb crap, like kind of, or doing something where you put something really cool at the beginning. So like, oh, later, you'll see this, like, we'll keep watching the video. Clearly it's sounding good, it looking good. You talking about things that are cool, like all that really helps. I don't know, like it kind of depends. Like, especially if they're there for you, they're going to watch or whatever, but low retention is difficult. I don't think that really determines on age so much, because generally you're trying to go out to your own demographic.
Right.
like Cinemassacre isn't trying to go after people that are just watching TikTok re-uploads and stuff like that on YouTube. And the thing about a lot of that is even though a younger generation's getting on YouTube now and stuff, it's just making YouTube bigger and bigger and bigger. And even people who are in their 40s and stuff are watching it for the first time now. So you can always capture a newer audience, even though they're in the same demo you already have. It's great capturing some of the younger demo, and a lot of young gamers who like, oh, my first system was a PS4, PS3 or whatever. They're still going back and watching a lot of this stuff. Like you're kind of in this GameCube era, kind of globbing onto those people, and clearly the AVGNs and NES land, and we try incorporating some newer things here and there, but successfully or not, but. But I guess by being engaging, having the video be nice and consistent throughout, you definitely want to front load it with all the best stuff to get people into it and have sparks here and there, depending on what the video is about. Like you don't want to, that's why top 10 videos, especially used to do really well because people watch the whole thing because they need to see what number one is, right? So, you could always, especially if you put in the thumbnail or otherwise, like, oh, here's the thing you're going to see last. Or if you see the unboxing and the opening of a video, then you cut like, hey, guys, like you show it for the first 5 seconds. And like, oh, hey, that's at the end. There's little things you can do like that without being too manipulative or, people chunk too many ads in their videos or otherwise, because after 8 minutes, you could put in mid-rolls and all that kind of stuff. And may I please recommend get YouTube Premium. YouTube Red, it used to be called. I got it, never looked back. It's because it helps the content creators because they get half the money, YouTube gets the other half, kind of a thing. You see no ads, especially right now with all the goddamn political ads. I'd shoot myself
dude, I know.
If I didn't have YouTube Premium, and I've been using the service for a while. A lot of the premium shows aren't there, but I do like that you can that it helps the creators and stuff like that. And a lot of creators don't really know that, and they don't really say, hey, use YouTube Premium, because you want as many YouTube Premium users watching your videos as possible, because then the ad rates do not matter. But YouTube doesn't want to, push that just because they make $1 trillion off ads, depending more so, depending on what the thing is. So definitely if you watch YouTube a lot, I highly recommend YouTube Premium. That way you can get rid of your dumb ad block and all that BS. You can't even ad block Amazon really anymore because they're putting baked in ads and stuff. So they're going to get around it. So but just pay now. Pay the $1 billion company now.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's a great feature, man. So, all right, what about this, man? Because this is also something that I've struggled with, but I've slowly gotten better with each video. And really, what really helped me get better at this is getting more comfortable on camera, right? Because, dude, the first few videos I filmed, I was so damn nervous, dude, because I had never been comfortable on camera. So it took months for me to get that comfort level up. But where I'm going with this is, do you have any tips for improving your on-screen presence and, improving your energy in the video? Because, when I go back and watch my first few videos, I had no energy. I was monotone. My on-screen presence was not that great. I've gotten better. I've gotten a lot better. I feel like I've improved my on-screen presence, but I feel like I still have a ways to go. So I wanted to see if you have any advice for me and anyone else watching for that.
Well, first thing I recommend, we're talking about audio and all that. There's a series on YouTube called How to Be an Online Voice Actor. By Max, I think his channel Soul Brother number 2 or 3 or something like that. He has a 5-part series where he's talking about like how to be an online voice actor, but he talks about how to act and how to the tools for that kind of stuff, and then what gear to get and stuff. So I think anyone should watch that because I couldn't say it better myself. So how to be an online voice actor. There's 5 parts. Look it up. In terms of how to talk to the camera and all that, clearly it helps just randomly recording yourself all the time, like practicing. Talking to a mirror helps out a lot. Public speaking, just having, a lot of people have anxieties and all that, but just talk to as many people as you can. Watch a lot of movies, like, real movies where there's good dialogue, like a Scorsese film or things like that. Watch a lot of, YouTubers that are talking heads or otherwise. Your goal is not to emulate them, but do things in your own way. Realize that, it's not live, it's editing. You're going to cut out the bad stuff anyway. So, as long as you have that in your head, I think you'll be less anxious to get it right. And sometimes it's hard to read cues, and if that's a problem, you can easily get a teleprompter. I know you memorize your lines, but you could get a glass teleprompter with an iPad and put it right up to your Sony DSLR, and that'll take that work off of you as well. I know a lot of people that read all their script, like they just go through the whole thing, looking at the camera, doing the dialogue with the teleprompter, rather than read off a script, just because they get the right flow. They can read it how they normally would everything else. So that, because a lot of, in the early days of YouTube, especially, I noticed this in John Tron's videos early on a lot, where the voice on the camera would sound completely different than the voice on the microphone that you'd see, like when you go from those sections. Yours don't do that really, because the mic it's the same mic. So that's good, but your canter might change when you're now reading it rather than that. So that's why it's good to kind of have it on the same thing, or figure out what your flow is. Like right now we're doing the podcast, and even though you're on my screen right here, I'm trying to look at the camera when I can, just because that makes more sense for an audience.
That's
I
true.
look over here. I look at me over here a lot too, and there's other things, but you kind of have to learn how to look at a camera and kind of talk, I guess. I mean, it's just practice makes perfect more than anything else.
Yeah, that makes sense. And and the reason that I brought that up is because, are you familiar with Beat 'em Up's channel?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I noticed, I kind of fell off his channel a little bit, but I started watching his channel before he really blew up, right? Before he really started blowing up, and I noticed that, at least from my perspective, I feel like one of the things that helped him blow up and get more of an audience is that he really changed his on-screen presence to be more animated, far more energetic. There's a lot of energy in the editing, like there's all sorts of little, I don't even know how to describe it, but he does a lot in his editing to keep
there's a
people's
lot
attention.
of zoom ins, more frantic.
Right.
Like even John Tron was doing that back in the day with a lot of pop ins, text, a lot of that's definitely more of the younger style. Like, considering a lot of the boomer, as it were, videos we make on Cinemassacre are very like low energy compared to the more like we're making a video. It's not such an AVGN, of course stuff's gonna go crazy, but every video is not like whoa, like that kind of stuff. But if you have the personality and can turn it on like that all the time, great. Wood's also a little bit like that in real life too. Known him for a while, but he's he can really pull that off well.
Yeah.
Especially him with his, he has a look to him, and he really passionate about the videos and can really just like kind of explain stuff, and people can can kind of see through you, as it were. Like they can see like, oh, this guy's really into it, so therefore I am into it. And I think a lot of that kind of I wouldn't say gimmicky stuff, but it definitely captures people and keeps them in for a while. Really helps. Of course, it's harder to edit and all that kind of stuff, but for someone like Wood and Beat 'em Ups, that took a long time for him to get to that stage, like 5, 6, whatever years or whatever. And I hope most retro creators like that can get there. But but he's I think he's gonna eventually transition to more lifestyle, not vlogging, but more talk. He could eventually talk about anything that he doesn't have to talk about gaming. But I mean, I think he's a very Switch focused channel, which helps because all the younger people are playing Switch games. But kind of depends on the topics you want to do. And like if I was doing videos like Wood was, exactly, I wouldn't get as much love from the younger fans. I look like a monster, I'd be talking, I'm too sarcastic, I wouldn't be high energy, it'd be kind of rough. So you kind of have to set to what the audience would be. But on YouTube, the audience is infinite because it's a ton of different things. So I think it depends.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, obviously I love retro games, and I do a lot of retro content. I'm a retro game collector, but sometimes I really worry that retro gaming content is on the decline. You know what I mean? I feel like more people, as far as the gaming spectrum goes, I feel like more people go to YouTube to see the more modern stuff than the more retro stuff. I feel like it's sort of more of a niche audience. Well, I mean, obviously it's not to a degree, because obviously AVGN still gets tons and tons and tons of views whenever he covers retro games. But I don't know. Sometimes I worry that doing a lot of retro content might be hurting my
Well,
channel. But then again, a lot of my videos that get views are retro type videos. So
it's tough because you have a lot of people getting in on the retro scene. Like, there's a lot of retro channels that just pop off out of nowhere. I guess Wood wouldn't be one of those because he's doing more modern Switch stuff. But there are retro channels that kind of came out of nowhere. I'm like, oh, who's this guy? This guy kind of like, this guy's 1 million subs now. Like where did this guy come from? Depending on the audience that you have. Retro's clearly a smaller pool. Like, I think Screenwave has like 60-70% of most of the retro channels as it is. Clearly gaming overall is bigger, but a lot of that is, oh, this Minecraft guy that has 5 million, like, you can't really say it. I think as a lot of younger people are getting into retro, so I think it's always going to have an audience. I guess what the thing is, the pie's getting smaller, but there's also less slices getting taken out of it because a lot of YouTubers otherwise are getting out of it or otherwise. So I think for certain creators, it's always going to be good, especially for something like Cinemassacre. I think there's going to be a higher gate of entry to what people are used to moving forward. And that's on YouTube in general. Like, everyone's going to already have decent amount of, production quality and what they kind of want to make and all that stuff. So it is, I think it's harder than ever to kind of start a channel, growing a little bit, but maintaining is definitely, difficult compared. So I don't know. I think I don't think retro is ever going to die. I mean, I hope not. I mean, we also run Too Many Games, which is one of the biggest retro cons in the country for gaming. So outside of Philly. So we hope it does. I mean, this year we had to cancel, but and that community is pretty vibrant still. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I think the content might have to shift, but there's only, so many reviews of Hudson Hawk on NES you're going to get to before people don't care anymore. Or, why do they want to watch your video instead of watching just a long play on that or an AVGN or whatever? So I think people got to be a little more shifty when they, shifting, not shifty, but like on what kind of content they make, to do stuff. But, I wouldn't say retro is dead, and I wouldn't say gaming on YouTube's dead at all. It's still the biggest platform in general. Of course, the hump's going to move because now retro is considered GameCube. In a few years, it'll definitely be 360 and PlayStation 3 and all that stuff. But a lot of those people are going to look back fondly on the NES and these companies that have existed since then, like every Sega game, NES. I do think if you are an Atari 2600 or in television or Magnavox Odyssey or Pong YouTuber, it's probably not many of those left in general. But, not many people care about the Intellivision that much, unfortunately. But NES, just because it's tied, because on Switch they have all the different things and you can play the classic editions and all that. Like, those are going to do good forever. Like, being an N64 channel is good. You're growing up with the audience and all that kind of stuff. So I agree that old retro is dead, but I think because the companies are still around that are tied to the original stuff from the 80s onward, it's probably fine. But if you want to get in quick and don't care about what you're making, just do stuff on the Switch right now, like as hard as you can, or just do things that are as another Mario 64 video, that. But if you want to do something that's more in tune to what you want to do and your GameCube stuff and all that kind of stuff, just kind of try and do it your own way, put your own spin on it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I do some Switch videos, right? At the end of every month I do an upcoming Switch games video where I talk about Switch games coming out the next month. I cover Switch indie games because I'm a big supporter of indie games, a huge supporter of indie games because I think indie games are very, very important in the gaming industry. And sometimes I'll review, major Switch games, like I reviewed Paper Mario: The Origami King. But where my real passion lies is definitely the GameCube, because I have a complete, GameCube collection, and that is the console that really accelerated my love of video games. So obviously, I have a lot of love for the GameCube. So obviously, I love making videos for the GameCube. So, but at the end of the day, for me personally, I want to make videos that I'm passionate about. You know what I mean? I don't want to make videos for other people. I want to make videos for me first. And I don't mean, and you know, I'm not trying, I don't mean that to sound selfish. You get what I'm saying. I want to make
Mhm.
videos that I want to make, because to me, the idea of making YouTube videos about something you're not truly passionate about just to get the views, to me, that sounds miserable. I would hate that, to force myself to make a video about something I'm not really passionate about. And I love the Switch, which is why I do Switch content. Um, you know, I'm a diehard Nintendo fan. I love all the consoles. I don't believe in console wars. I love all the consoles. I play the PS4 a lot and everything else, but Nintendo for me is really where it's at. So that's why that's a lot of the focus on my channel. But I do branch out into other things. But how important would you say it is for a YouTuber to stick to making something that they're passionate about and not just making something to chase the views? I mean, obviously, making something to chase the views can work because a whole lot of YouTubers do that and they're extremely successful.
I mean, I guess it depends on how sincere you want to be, but I think it's probably like a 70%, 30% mix where you know, of course, you want to like reach out and do the things that you think are going to get views and that it's worth your time and to get monetized and to build a fan base and that. But you also don't want to like burn yourself out and make things you actually want to make. So, you know, that's a big part of it too. I mean, we've said it a few times, but you know, and I think a lot of creators go like, oh, just make what you want to make, kind of a thing. But I think if you ask most content creators if they could be doing something else, they would. You know, they're kind of just in it. I think that's just kind of the byline everyone says. Like, I'm happy with a lot of the videos I make or I've done. You know, like I don't think there's too much stuff that like I'm personally involved in that I wouldn't want to do. Um, but you know, but I've also done YouTube on and off for 10 years. I've kind of said most of what I had to goddamn say. You know, I'm good. Enough people have seen my crap. I'm not too worried about it. Um, but yeah, I think it kind of it really depends. But of course, you're going to have to do things for yourself more than anyone else.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, I want to kind of shift the topic a little bit because I'm curious, you know,
Oh, thank
with
you.
yeah, I'm curious, you know, with COVID and everything. Obviously, the COVID is affecting a lot of things in a lot of different ways. But I wanted to ask you, how is COVID affecting what you do with Cinemassacre and Screenwave Media? Is that introducing some new difficulties into your process?
Yeah, I mean, it's why we put James and Mike Monday on hiatus. It's why rental reviews was canceled. You know, my goal might be to do something later like that, but you know, right now I'm in my office at Screenwave, but you know, we're all social distance. There's only a few people here. Um, you know, it's kind of early on. It was way more difficult, but with all of our computers and systems and servers and all that stuff, we kind of have to be here. It's a real essential business. But you know, for especially for James and Mike, um, talking strictly Cinemassacre, you know, they live a little while away from here. It's kind of tough getting together, and especially when people are, you know, you know, with the virus and everything, you have to be really precautious. Especially James that has a wife and kids and stuff. You know, I don't think I can give it to my cats. You know, it's kind of like, you know, we'll have to be very protective, and because of that, we've kind of changed how videos kind of worked on Cinemassacre, making things more, you know, one person, more script reading. When we do AVGN with James now, which we used to film with him, we do it over. I have a monitor up here, that's why I'm looking up there. We would do it on like over Skype, kind of a thing, and have Google Docs up and you know, mute our mic when we're going and stuff like that. So there's different ways around stuff like that. Screenwave, you know, with all of our channel managers and outbound people, you know, because we also have people in Texas and LA and things like that. You know, of course, the bulk of the people are outside of Philadelphia. But yeah, they've mostly been, most of the staff's been working from home, but a lot of the Screenwave people, you know, they just talk to YouTubers all day, and otherwise it can all be done mostly from, you know, like Discord and Zoom and Skype and all that kind of stuff. But for the hard the harder production stuff. We kind of some of us had, I guess, sacrifice, and we are here to get the stuff done. But it's not as challenging as it could be. We had to knock down a few shows and knock down a few projects, especially James Rolfe's horror movie he wanted to get started this year, his full-length one, and a few other projects we were doing as well, because we're also working on a fully animated series right now as well on the side. We're working on the pilot pitch Bible script, all that's almost done. And that one's pretty cool. I can't really talk about that yet, but that one's going to be fun. We have a lot of, we're kind of working on other things in the meantime, but things have been better than ever. We'll probably, eventually get another office and things like that. So, things are good. Not as good as they could be, not as good as we wanted to with how this year is, but we're making it by, because considering nothing's been really open or done anyway, I spend most of my time just working on the crap. So
Were you involved with the AVGN movie at all?
no, I gave original suggestions and stuff like that, but at the time, I think I was like 2012 to like 2014 area. I was just working on my own YouTube stuff. I've had a few friends that are in the movie and all that stuff, and I've known James since like 2006 or something. He was a film student at UArts in Philly, and I was across the bridge in Camden, New Jersey, at a film school at Rutgers there. So he's like he's 3 or 4 years older than me. So when he was a senior, I was like a freshman, sophomore. So we'd see each other at film festivals and stuff like that, and kind of, and every once in a while we talk, or we would borrow props and stuff from each other when we were both on Screw Attack in the early 2010s, and they started doing the movie stuff, and we offered to do like this kind of stuff, but then they brought the whole operation to LA to do like the real movie making, I guess, which leads to a whole nother set of problems and things like that, things that I think we would mitigate if we ever made another full-length film. We'd probably clearly do it around here, and we know how the tax system works here, and we have I think we have pretty much all the gear we need to make a full film in terms of what streaming services want, what your camera is like. We have like a full Blackmagic suite and all that kind of stuff. Nice. But yeah, like I wasn't involved in the movie. I guess that's the question. No.
Yeah. I am ashamed to say that I have not seen the AVGN movie yet. I really need to fix that.
Yeah, I've only seen it once, surprisingly. And there's many AVGN. There's a few AVGN episodes I haven't seen, even though I work on it. And I've watched. Like it's kind of like AVGN. Like I watched like these ones 100 times, and some I'm still going through. I do need to rewatch the whole series, but yeah.
Dude, you know what video I wish James would do more of? There was a video, and it came out a long time ago, but it was a video where he was reading fan mail, like some of the most insane fan mail he's gotten. Man, I wish he could do more of those.
Like live like a windjammer as you fuck or whatever. Yes. Yeah. Oh. He's been thinking about doing weird stuff like that, or other things. Of course, his mind's been so preoccupied with his book thing and trying to write more scripts up, and then his sequel to his one horror movie, Head Incident. The Head Returns comes out in like a week, I think, that he spent a ton of time on during the the pandemic. So he's got a lot of stuff going on, but it's always good when you can kind of cut out and do something like that's fun rather than like a video that's just time to make the donuts.
Yep, that's true.
And that's why it's kind of been tough not doing, like we were going to conventions every month or every other month, and doing panels and meeting fans and all that. Like that was a lot of fun. So I definitely miss that.
Yeah, that's one thing that I was gonna start doing more of, is going to conventions, and then of course the virus happened. So once conventions pick back up, I'm definitely gonna go to more like Too Many Games. I've never been to Too Many Games, so definitely
like
do that.
Too Many Games, Portland, Retropalooza in Texas. There's a bunch of Midwest Gaming Classics. There's a bunch of retro gaming cons. I mean, Too Many Games is getting more into modern gaming kind of stuff, but the marketplace is always so retro focused. But then again, we don't know how many cons are going to survive what's going on right now. I know a few that have already closed for good. So
oh wow,
we'll see.
That sucks, man. I hate to hear that. Yeah, just like with, there's a lot of restaurants that are having to close down because of the virus. It's a lot of small businesses, man. It's not good at all. So hopefully 2021 things will turn around. I feel pretty good about 2021. I feel there's a vaccine right around the corner. So, I have high hopes, and I'm trying to be very optimistic about 2021. I think it's going to be, I think it's good. I mean, shit, let's be honest. Any year is going to be better than 2020, right?
Yeah. Well,
I
or
mean,
worse. Yeah, I don't know.
can't get much. Well, I guess it could always get worse, but it's not going to. It's going to get better. Putting some positive vibes out there. So I got to ask you, man. I'm very curious. What's the story behind the Gengar collection?
Oh yeah. So I have these Gengars. Oh, they're actually in my room. Let's see if I can use the camera to kind of shift them there. Yeah. Oh, you can't really tell. No, that's a shame. But I got on my sides here. I got all these two shelves are filled with Gengars. Um, I guess I have probably the world's largest Gengar collection. I don't like saying that because there's a lot of other Gengar collectors, and it's kind of weird. But I don't know. I just started collecting Gengars. I mean, I love Pokemon. I'm actually doing a video about it in November with Mike Matei. We do like a tour of the Gengars, a Gengar collection. I don't know. I just like that Pokemon, growing up. I had Pokemon Blue in middle school, and I didn't have many friends, so I couldn't trade for a Haunter to get a Gengar. And, I didn't know about any of the hacks and stuff like that. And then I stopped playing for a while, but I watched the anime, and I like that. I liked all the ghost stuff. I like Halloween. I like ghosts. I like the whole thing. I like the purple. It's good. And then I started when Battle Revolution came out, which was for the Wii, and it was a lot like Pokemon Stadium. I played that a lot, and I was like, oh, this is actually a lot of fun. I got into Pokemon again. Gen 4 was out, and I was able to pick up Platinum and got back into it. And from Platinum to Gen 7-ish, I was playing competitive, like Smogon, like VGC, like actual like in tournaments Pokemon. And I usually had a mono ghost team where they were all ghosts, and Gengar was my lead Pokemon, depending. And now I kind of, with how conventions are, I kind of step back the last few years. I kind of doing that, but I've won a few tournaments, and Gengar is always my favorite for multitude of reasons. And and I guess like 2010-ish, I had like 5 or 6 Gengar items. And then I guess it kind of just grew from there, and I just kept getting more and more stuff, learning more about it, meeting people online that are in the same community. But in the last year, especially with the pandemic, I've just been getting Gengar stuff, waiting for me to do this video with Mike and otherwise. So, to ship something to Japan and back right now is so cheap because FedEx just put things on planes that are just not filled with people. So I'm just getting a ton of stuff that I couldn't get normally because everyone's at home, even in Japan, and I'm able to get some stuff. So like the collection's grown. Like me and Mike actually shot the video already, like a month or two ago, and by the time I started editing it, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So there's 15 sections in the shelves, and when I shot it with them, there was only 10. So the collection grew like 40% in like 2 months. I just kept getting stuff. It's kind of an addiction. And it's also like how it's presented. Like, I don't know, if you look up Gengar collection on Google, it might come up. Or if you look on my Twitter, Justin Silverman.
Yeah, I need to get
pictures. I need to get an Instagram, but I'm working on that. I'm not very social. But no, the collection's fun, and I like because like yourself and otherwise, like I used to have a big like generic gaming collection where I'm at the store, I found this, I found that, I just started putting stuff together, and after a while it's just like I had a house fire a while ago, and I lost some stuff, and I was just like what's the point, and this is all at my office, by the way. At my house there's like no games, there's like a few Blu-rays. I just kind of go home to like rest and like chill out, like you don't shit what you eat kind of thing, because being YouTube and gaming is a job. Like the conventions, I don't want to I think I have a Switch and an Xbox at my house, and all the games are digital. Like I don't care. But I sold everything that was in my collection from the years of to people at Too Many Games and fellow like resellers and stuff like that. And I just started exclusively getting Gengar stuff, and when you get enough Gengar stuff, people start coming to you like, hey, you're stupid, you'll buy anything Gengar I have. So you start eventually getting everything, you start learning about it and all that. And then Gengar is a good enough Pokemon where there's enough for it to have a big collection and that it's fun to collect for and stuff, but not too much. Like, it's not like you're collecting for everything Charmander or Pikachu, because it would never end. But it's not like you're collecting for a Pokemon like Wooper or like some like Cutie Fly or something weird like that, you know, or some like shitty legendary where there's only like a handful of stuff. There's like a lot, but more. There was a point where I was like, "Uh-oh, there's too much stuff," and you know, like, and there still is, and it's a collection I'm happy with. Where like I'll never get everything. Like, you'll never get everything. I mean, I guess that's the point, right? That's Pokemon's thing. Gotta catch them all. You know, and I'm at the age now. Like I'm 36 now. Like, I'm like too old for Pokemon, clearly, but you know, like, but I grew up with it enough. You know, like, I went from Pokemon right into Marilyn Manson, I guess. As kids do. But yeah, like, I'm happy that Pokemon Company and whatever are still making crap for that. Like, now there's like I got a Pokemon skateboard, a Gengar skateboard up there, and all this other kind of stuff. People come in my office and they're like, "Oh my god!" Like, it's kind of, you know, like, behind me, see that purple? That's a Gengar Kigurumi I just got. From Macari, I think, because you know, it's just the hunt. You know, I love going on eBay, like, much like gaming people. Like, I'm pretty good doing my eBays and my Macari and all my Japanese stuff and sources and all that kind of stuff. So it's just fun. There's no real story to it aside from it's a crippling addiction I have. I also have a lot of Steven Seagal stuff, but I kind of keep that on the sly. That started out as an ironic joke and became a thing. But no, I do like Gengar, and I like the collection, and I'm always down to talk to people about Pokemon and stuff, but not like the DeviantArt weird Pokemon stuff. Like, I always like playing the meta game, like, you know, like the on the systems and stuff, because it's like, you know, like a very complicated paper rock scissors kind of a scenario. So no, I don't know.
Yeah,
Gengar,
no, I think that's cool, man. And you know, I mean, look, let's be honest. There are far worse addictions that you could have. So, I mean,
I got a few of those too, but
we all do, I think.
I mean, this might be my most cost prohibitive, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, I also grew up, you know, with Pokemon. I started with Red and Blue as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, shit, dude, I was playing Pokemon and listening to Dig by Mudvayne at the same time back in those days when Mudvayne's first album came out. So yeah. That's back when I first. As a matter of fact, that Mudvayne album was what got me into heavy metal and turned me into a metalhead. Funnily enough, but yeah, man, you know, Pokemon. You know, for people like me and you that grew up when it first started and just blew up, it's very nostalgic for us. You know, I mean, it's very nostalgic.
Because I guess you were in elementary school when it came out.
Fifth grade. Yep, I was in fifth grade.
Yeah, so I was in 7th, 8th grade at the time.
Yeah. Yep. And I grew up, I did fall off of it, just like you said you did. I fell off of it, you know, after a certain point. I think after Gold and Silver is when I about fell off of it for a little while, and then I kind of got back into it.
Because it's tough, because Pokemon kind of led me to find other better type RPGs. At the time, I was like, "Oh, this is fun. Oh, what's this Final Fantasy stuff? Oh, Final Fantasy 6. Like, what the hell is, you know, like, getting into that?" Especially because that was like when the PlayStation was out, and I was big in the PlayStation, so I started getting into that. And then, yeah, of course, heavy metal, and I was deep into, like, you know, first I started like deep into like Metallica to Marilyn Manson to eventually getting into death and black metal. Now I'm more of a power metal guy, but you know, a lot of that too. But or Pokemon, like the anime, like I went from liking that, I mean, like, oh, this anime is cool. What other anime are there? And then getting into Dragon Ball Z, and then getting into like Ninja Scroll and like the Murder, Death, and Akira and all that kind of stuff. Like, I was like, wow, it was a good gateway into everything that Japan had to offer, I guess.
You're right.
So that's kind of even like Japanese, like heavy metal and death metal too, with all that kind of stuff. So yeah, Pokemon kind of led me that, but because of nostalgia, otherwise I kind of came back to it. So that's kind of what happened.
I gotta ask you, man, have you ever heard of a heavy metal band called The Sword?
No, I know Magic Sword, but that's more of an EDM.
Dude,
What's The Sword?
dude. when we're done with this podcast, look
Yeah.
up The Sword and listen to some songs from their first couple albums. Okay, so if I had to describe The Sword, the way I would describe it is if Metallica and Black Sabbath had sex, had a kid, and that kid was super into fantasy and Game of Thrones, then
Okay.
you have The
It
Sword.
it seems like something I would already know about.
Dude, the I'm not too crazy about some of their newer albums, but their first 3 or 4 albums, you gotta check them out, man.
Oh, they're from Texas.
Dude, their first 3 or 4 albums are fucking incredible, incredible, and a lot of their songs are they're huge. I think they're huge George R. R. Martin fans, so I think a
Of
lot of
course.
yeah, a lot of their songs are about Game of Thrones, and this was before the show came out, so they were fans of the books.
Right.
Uh, but dude, check that band out, man. You will not regret it. And they're
Oh
they're
yeah, I'm
awesome.
kind of hearing it a little bit.
Yeah, they're awesome, man. Their guitar work, dude, so good. Like I said, it's almost like Metallica and Black Sabbath
Yeah, it
had a
has a little
baby.
bit of like that acid rocky,
Yeah.
slower,
Yo,
but a little heavy. Like I see what you mean.
yeah. It's good stuff, man. Good stuff. And that's a band that I pretty much never hear people talk about, which is a shame. Um, but I wanted to ask you, have you been playing any video games lately? And if so, what have you been playing?
I mean, aside from playing games for fucking Cinemassacre or
Yeah,
otherwise,
right.
I've been I just beat Ghost of Tsushima for
Nice.
PS4.
Nice.
And that was fun. Yeah, I played that one as on, not the hardest difficulty, but like I think it was just on hard, not like lethal or whatever. And I played with just Japanese vocals and English subtitles. That was a lot. That was very ingraining. That was a fun game. Like I couldn't put that one down for a while. And I can't wait because this week I think the new patch comes out where it's like 4-player co-op online. So I'm looking forward to that. Like Kieran from Cinemassacre loves that game too, so we'll probably play some games together. Aside from that, I play a lot of Clubhouse games on the Switch. Connect
Me
4,
too,
pretty
dude.
good at that. Yeah. But I was about to restart every Half-Life game. From Half-Life 1, Half-Life 2, all the expansions. Well, maybe not like Decay and shit like that. Like Opposing Forces and Blue Shift and stuff. And then I was gonna play eventually play Alex because we have like a Vive set up here. So that's probably gonna be my next challenge for fun just to have. But new games coming out, I think I'm just gonna do Half-Life until I roll into Cyberpunk. That's what's gonna
Yes.
happen. Oh, and
Yeah.
I got the Cyberpunk controller, which looks
Oh,
like crap.
nice.
I love that it looks like crap. It's perfect.
I kind of like it, man. It's different. Yeah, no, that's cool, man. I have not played Ghost of Tsushima yet. I really want to. It's on my list.
It's
It
it's
looks
worth it.
incredible. Yeah, it
Yeah.
looks incredible.
Oh, and of course the AVGN game that comes out at the end of the month. You gotta play
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I saw there. I think on the Switch, it seems like I saw something where you could buy both games. Was that?
Oh yeah. So how it is it's AVGN 1 and 2 Deluxe. It's
Yeah.
both games remade, put together with a third chapter.
Nice.
So they're completely remade from the ground up in the engine from the second game. So it's all in Unity or whatever. Compared to the first one was like his own engine. I forgot what the hell it is, Game Maker or whatever. But now it's the same thing. They redid all the art. They redid a lot of the music and animations and how the games play out and the difficulty options, the accessibility options, and then all the new content at the end. There's like big rig trucks and Bugs Bunny and all this crazy shit that happened. Like it's pretty good. And I'm not just saying that because I have to. Like I actually really like I'm not, and well, I guess I can't really say this. I'm not really big on a lot of indie pixel type games. Um, which is pretty much all we make. But the ABGN one is a lot of fun.
Yeah. Dude, it needs a physical release, man.
We're working on that. I guess it depends on how good it does on sales days because the Switch and Steam digital versions come out on October 30th. Xbox and PlayStation will come out a little bit after that because you're working out kinks with PS5 and all that. Even though it's the same ecosystem, because that's the thing that happened in gaming, right? There is no system really. It's like your PS5 and your Xbox Series X or whatever. They're just basically Steam boxes, but your Steam is PlayStation, your Steam is the Xbox store, it's Nintendo eShop. The Switch is the only interesting system. You know, the rest are just PCs disguised as gaming units.
Yep, pretty
Which
much.
is fine by me because at least the Xbox ecosystem's all the same now. You know, I've always considered myself a PlayStation guy, but not so much recently. But I beat Death Stranding too, so there's another one.
I'm glad that you mentioned that because that is the game that I'm currently playing right now, man. I'm about 15 hours into it, and I love it so far.
I put way too much time in it, just building zip lines and bullshit for no reason.
Yeah.
I will say, now I don't want to give anything away. I won't spoil anything,
don't.
but do not get attached to anything you're building.
Okay.
Don't get too hyped. Like, I built so many zip lines that go back places and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get too attached to it, especially because the acid rain, the time fall will destroy things over time anyway. Yep. So don't, because I got really bummed when I did a lot of work and it kind of went away later. But the games, I love Hideo Kojima games, but to go back, the game system. Yeah, so the AVGN 1 and 2 Deluxe is coming out on October 30th for Steam and Switch. The other systems later, and hopefully we'll do a physical one after those do well. I definitely at least want to get it out for the Switch. That's my goal. No one's stated that or how we can, like we have pathways to do that. But we don't want to do anything yet. I mean, of course, we're putting out shirts and a vinyl record for the game and all that kind of stuff. That's all in our store and whatever. But no, I think the game's going to be cool. And that'll lead eventually, hopefully, into another AVGN game, which, who knows? It could be 2D. It could be something else. So we're working on that as well.
Hell yeah, I'm going to be all over that, dude, because I've yet to play the first one. So now seems like the perfect opportunity. Have you thought about limited run games for a physical release?
We've talked to them in the past. Like, I've been to their offices in North Carolina a few times, and we've talked to them about some stuff. I'm not sure what we'll go with in the end, just because I think we have enough. We could go either way with it. If we get our own, we have our own store and we have our own things like that. Working with a company like that's really cool, though. Those are great guys, and we loved helping out with their Chex Quest when they pushed that system. So that was, and it's kind of cool. I'm glad we were able to, because of the AVGN Chex Quest episode, people started caring about Chex Quest again, including Chex. Didn't realize they even had it or cared about it. Like the head PR from Kellogg's contacted me and they're like, "Hey, we care about this again for some reason."
That's too funny.
And then now they have a comic book and the games and the re-release, and now they're all in the stores again. So I'm glad that we were able to do something to push that, because I love Chex Quest. I love Doom and Doom mods. Like retro FPS is my favorite genre probably. So I'm glad that happened. But with that, talking about just distribution and stuff, I don't think the AVGN game is going to come in a Chex box anytime soon.
Yeah,
sadly.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, man. If that game does get a physical release, I'm definitely going to be all over that, because I collect for the Switch very heavily. I have over 300 physical games for the Switch. I love collecting for that console, so yeah, I'll definitely be all over that. And I'll play it too, because it looks really freaking fun, man. It
is fun, playing just the demos at conventions over and over and over again for a couple of years now. I can really, the controls feel really good. It's just a really solid game. And I think it might help never playing the first one and just playing the second one, because this one's built on the second's engine. It'll feel right, but the new third chapter is really, it's basically a tiny third game connected that unlocks. So there's a lot of cool stuff in there. And just by reimagining and reworking a lot of the bosses and a lot of the unfair, I think the first game when Screw Attack made it was too unfair for the sake of being Ninja Gaiden hard, whatever. But the new one's more challenging, but in a good way. So I think that's where it's going.
Sweet. Well, man, maybe I'll I might actually play it and do a review for it on the channel. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and I noticed whenever I went to the Nintendo page and looked at it, I noticed, just looking at the screenshots, I can see a ton of just different movie and video game references within the game itself, and I think that's awesome.
Oh yeah, the new Japanese inspired level with the kaijus fighting in the background is really cool. They've added way more parallaxing and screen stuff and particle effects and stuff. So yeah, check it out. I think you can add it to your wish list on Steam now, and then it's I think you can pre-order it for on Switch now.
Yeah, and it comes out in November or October.
The 30th of October,
Okay,
hopefully. Yes. That's what we're telling
nice.
everybody.
Yeah. Do you know what the price is off the top of your head?
I
Isn't it
think
like
it's I think it's 15,
15? That's a good
but it's
price.
it's only three-ish, two-ish games in one. Um, and it's a rework from the ground up. It's like it's a completely different experience. So, um, yeah, I think that makes sense. We'll see. Clearly, there'll be sales and stuff later, and we'll see what happens when it goes on. Because a lot of that dependent on the eShops and stuff too. So we'll see. But I think for now, I think it's 14 on each.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that sounds like a fair price to me. Yeah, cool. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna be all over that, man, because it looks like it's right up my alley. I love indie games that are more kind of retro inspired, and I love indie games that add a lot of comedy and kind of parody within the game itself, and kind of breaks the third wall or the and all that good stuff, the fourth
Yeah, I think
wall.
one of our other games for next year is Iron Meat, which is like a very Contra looking game.
Oh,
It's
nice.
pretty fucked up. You should look up Iron Meat.
Okay, Iron Me. Let me make a quick note of that. You had me at Contra. Huge Contra fan. Love
Yeah, and
Contra.
it's like Contra, like how you kind of want it. I think a lot of games, be it Blazing Chrome or otherwise, kind of go after, you know, Contra. They're heavy in Super Contra or the later games or whatever, like
Hmm.
Hardcore and things. Like it's a little too much going on. This one's a little more classic.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Cool. So, one of the video series that I love on Cinemassacre channel is You Know What's Bullshit. Is
Mhm.
that gonna continue going forward?
Yeah, it's bullshit's monthly. We just put out the inflatable um, balloons one for October, and then yeah, I think we have a ton of those in the can that are just being edited right now because you can
Nice.
voice them over pretty
Yep.
quickly. Um, so yeah, there's definitely one in November, and we still got to come up with one in December, but we don't want to do one that's just like, oh, it's Christmas, man. So we'll
Yeah,
figure
yeah.
that. But like, yeah, I think we have those monthly moving forward. Unfortunately, we had to take bullshit out of the title and bullshit out of the front of the video because they kept getting
Mm,
like banned from YouTube and demonetized and all that
that's
kind of
so
stuff. So,
stupid, man.
but after like 30 seconds, so like the cursing start flying and stuff. But
Hmm.
I think you need to ramp into that kind of stuff anyway. But
Yeah,
it is what it is. You gotta,
yeah.
worse, they could just take the whole channel down. It is their fucking platform, right?
That's
So,
true.
we play ball when we can.
Yep, that's true. One of my favorite episodes is the episode that he did about funeral processions.
Hmm.
And the reason that that's one of my favorite episodes is because I had an incident with a funeral procession that was very similar to kind of what he described in the video. So I'm pulling out of a Walmart, right? I'm at a four-way, well, it's a highway, right? And I'm at a red light, gonna turn left onto the highway. And because of how they were coming down the road, I had no idea that it was a funeral. There were no signs on any vehicle saying it was a funeral. I didn't see. Oh, from my angle, from where I was, from my angle, and I was in the front, right at the red light. From my angle, the flashing light to me just looked like somebody had their turn signal on,
You
right?
didn't see the other blinker. Like, did you see the
Yep.
the hearse or whatever? Or was this like
Nope. Nope.
this is farther into the procession?
Yep. Didn't see the hearse or anything. So I pull. So the light turns green. I pull right out into the middle of this funeral, man, and I'm just smack dab in the middle of it. And I got people honking at me and giving me horrible looks. And when I realized, by the time I realized it was a funeral, it was too late. Everybody was looking at me like I was an asshole.
Now you're
Even
going to the
though,
funeral.
yeah, I mean, I had no idea, dude. If I had known, obviously I wouldn't have pulled out. So that episode has a special place in my heart just because I had a similar experience with
Yeah.
that. So and that's one of the things I love about that series is you watch those videos and you're like, you know what? Yeah, he is 100% right. Does he write those? Does he write all those?
Yeah, he usually writes most of them. I helped him out with the inflatable balloons on a bit because that's one of my gripes. Um, those fucking things because Halloween's definitely my favorite holiday. But no, he mostly writes like a huge chunk of those. Or he'll ask for some help, like, hey, like we're gonna do one eventually on like micro SD cards. He's like, hey, like why do those make you mad? And he incorporates it, or he goes, okay, can you get me some? I want to get footage of this shot and this shot that are very specific, or what kind of gear do you have that use those fucking things? So I think it kind of depends. on something like that. But yeah, like he usually spearheads most of those.
What's it like working with James? He just seems like a really chilled out, down to earth guy to me. Just outside of the
To a fault, I
AVGN.
guess, right?
Yeah,
Like he's very, very, very mellow, soft spoken. Compared to when he turns it on. Like the first time I saw him just like turn on the nerd, like when we were filming some of the first episodes we did together, like a little prior to the Polybius episode coming out. It's just like whoa, it was like a different person. I had known him for a long time before, but he's definitely I think he's like a wine. He's kind of like become more reserved and soft spoken with age. Which is good. Which I guess that's especially when you're like a dad and you're like, oh, my kids are gonna soon they're gonna find out that I'm the what was it splinters my ass and shredders my balls guy. So there's some of that, but no, but working with James has been a lot of fun. Like I not grew up, but like loved his videos. Like I think the first one I saw was like everyone says, "Oh, what was the first nerd video you saw?" But I saw the Turtles one when it first came out. I think that was episode 5, and then I was like, "Oh, this guy, he's across the river. He does all this stuff. We're doing all this other kind of stuff." So it was always very inspiring. And it's good working with him as as a collaborator or like acting with him in the Spawn episode and otherwise and coming up with edits and all that stuff with him. It's been pretty good. And doing stuff like the Mighty Wings video, like doing more band stuff and stuff that he especially wants to have a lot of fun with is great.
yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, and I have to say, and not to try to plug my own channel or anything, but the AVGN episodes have definitely inspired me because next week on Monday, actually, I've got a video coming out. It's a new episode of GameCube Gallery where I'm reviewing Dr. Muto on the GameCube 3D platform where he plays a mad scientist. And for the first time since I've been doing YouTube, as a matter of fact, the first time in my life, I've dressed up in a costume and I'm playing a completely different character in this video. I've
Oh,
never done that before.
that'd be
So I'm
cool.
going completely out of my comfort zone, and a lot of that was inspired by AVGN. I might send you a link to that one early, let you check it out if you get a chance, because I've never done it before. I've never played a character, so I'm playing this mad scientist character, doing the voice and everything, and I had a lot of fun with it, man. It was a lot of fun, and I'm really curious to see how people respond to that, to me playing a completely different character.
Yeah, can't wait to see you.
Yeah, it should be interesting, man. It should be interesting. I feel like I sort of pulled off a mad scientist character. I feel pretty good about it. I think people will respond pretty well to it and kind of how I incorporated the idea into the video. I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, it should be interesting. But where I'm going with that is that was directly a lot of that was directly inspired by AVGN episodes. Seeing him play a completely different character than how he is in real life. Um,
Yeah.
so, so yeah, I mean, his videos definitely inspire a lot of people, I'm sure, on YouTube, which is awesome. And he seems like a very humble guy to me. He seems like he hasn't let all this success get to his head, which I think is great.
No, much like or me, I mean, much like some people, he's very like, what's the next thing we're gonna do? Like, like how can I expand on this and that kind of stuff, especially with the like the movies and the short films he wants to make and all that stuff, and like the book he's writing and so stuff like that. Like James is always passionate about something. You never quite know what that something is, but it's always something.
Yeah, that's all, and you can see that. I mean, that's very, very apparent in his videos. I mean, and your passion is very apparent as well, and both you guys are your passion is very genuine, and I think that's important on the platform is to be genuine because, dude, I've seen so many YouTubers that you can just tell, man. You know what I mean? You can just tell they're not being genuine.
I know a lot of them.
Yeah,
No, I think what if you meet me, which no one should. The way you meet the way I am at a convention is the way I am in
yeah,
videos I've been in or how I
yeah,
am right now. Like, I try and keep it on the level, I guess.
yep, right, yeah. No, that's awesome, man. That makes sense. Well, listen, man. I really appreciate you coming on to my small podcast on my small YouTube channel. It means a lot. Very awesome. I've had a blast having you on. I've learned a lot, and I hope that people watching have learned a lot as well. Do you have anything else that you want to say before we close out the podcast?
No, feel free to hit me up. Right now, I only really got a Twitter at Justy with a Y Silverman. If you want to DM me or ask any questions or hit me up or whatever, always free to talk.
Cool. Yeah, and I'll leave his Twitter handle in the description down below, as well as Screenwave Media information, Cinemassacre information. I'll leave all that in the description down below. If you're one of the few gamers out there that's not subscribed to Cinemassacre, well, now's your chance, I guess. But yeah, man. Again, thank you for coming on the podcast. It's been a lot of fun, and thank you for recommending the Pumpkin beer to me. Unfortunately, I didn't get to get the Nitro like you recommended, but I got the next best thing, and hopefully one day I can track down the Nitro.
Yeah, that pumpkin beer is the best in the biz, man. Let me tell you.
It's good. It's good stuff. Really good stuff. I like it a lot. Unfortunately, the beer store that I went to, they basically told me that nitros are not really popular in my area, which is why they don't carry it.
In my area, all you can get is nitro.
Yeah, so
It must be
yeah,
a thing.
it must be, dude. I need to come up there because I really like nitros. I'm a big fan of Guinness.
Right.
Any
Yeah,
beer like
it's
that.
just a creamier pour. Like
Yeah.
it pops the thing in there when it. Yeah.
Yep. Like it a lot, man. Good stuff. Well, again, man, thank you for joining the podcast. It's been a lot of fun. Learned a lot. Hope everybody else learned a lot as well. And until next time, folks, stay safe out there. Keep playing games and having a good time. Justin, take it easy, man.
See ya.